guys, last time we introduced Lake Norman Airpark. This time we'll have an in-person interview with one of the property owners, Holliday Obrecht. He's going to share with us his own experience taking off from his backyard. Thank you so much, Holliday, for joining the conversation today.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
So today we're going to talk about your living experience on the airport.
Okay.
So I know you have been involved with aviation for many years in your life.
I have been.
Maybe tell us a little bit how you get involved with aviation.
Sure, will do. Well, I was a sport pilot way back in the beginning, back in the 70s, and I was flying hang gliders. And even before that, my dad was a private pilot and invited me to fly when I was 10 years old. So that's kind of really where it kind of started from full-scale flying. And that was back in 1965. And then we didn't have the resources for me to go ahead and finish my private license. So it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I finished my private ticket. But between that point and my 30s, I was flying hang gliders and ultralight aircraft and sport aircraft. And, and then eventually when I could afford it, I went ahead and finished my private license back in 1991. And then I got my glider license in 1993. And I flew out of Frederick, Maryland. And I really had a nice time there when I lived back in Maryland. And then 10 years ago, I retired and decided it was time to live with my airplane rather than have to commute 20 miles each direction to get to my airplane and back in like we did in Maryland. So now I can come right out my back door, right to my airplane, go up the taxiway to the runway. 1 mile of road takes you only 1 mile on the highway, but 1 mile of runway can take you anywhere in the world. So it's kind of a neat experience to live here on an airpark.
What's the part that you like the most about living on the airport?
Well, there's a lot of community of fellow pilots and folks that are like-minded and that have a really wide skill set. Because I also build airplanes too for fun through the Experimental Aircraft Association. We're building a wooden German sailplane here in the back part of my hangar. And the EAA Chapter 309 here in Charlotte has been just a great group of people to interact with over the last 10 years or so. And so I've really enjoyed that camaraderie and the flying experience of going out and fly-ins together like Sun and Fun and Oshkosh. And we have another venue here in South Carolina called Triple Tree down near Woodruff, South Carolina, which is a big 400-acre property down there that we can all meet and fly down there. So the camaraderie and the interaction with other pilots and people has really been it's the people that really are the important part of the aviation. As Paul Poberezmi at EAA once said, it's not the airplane that brings us together, it's the people that kind of bring us together. So that's where it is for me.
Can't agree more. It sounds very positive living on the airport. I mean, to me, it's really a dream come true.
It's very convenient too.
You take out the airplane, taxi out your house, and then, boom, here's the runway, and you can fly whatever you want, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Anything that you dislike of living on the airport? Any noise and, risk of something happening?
Not really. Most of the folks here, of course, are aviation minded, and we all know that airplanes make some noise. So we all are pretty tolerant, of that. So that's really not too much of an issue. Sometimes when you have a group of Type A personalities that live in one location, sometimes that can create some friction.
Right. I guess,
if you know what I mean. And I think this is probably a characteristic of not just this airpark, but just about any airpark. People need to learn to be tolerant and live together and accept other people's ideas. That we're not all the same, and like that. So sometimes little things like that can pop up,
right.
But usually everyone learns how to work through their issues and problems.
You talk about people, and you're part of the EA.
Yes.
309 group,
mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of aviation enthusiasts, helping you building out this airplane. So can you tell us a little bit more about your airplane building experience?
When I first moved here, as I said, about 10 years ago, we moved in here in August of 2010. And I didn't really know that many people here because I was, native of Maryland and came down here to North Carolina. I knew some of the people on the airpark, but it wasn't until about 2 years of living here that I discovered the EAA Chapter 309. The fellows here had been building an airplane and they had sold it to a private individual, and they were loading it on a big box truck down at the end of the runway. And my wife Shotzi and I were driving around in the golf cart. We saw these people struggling to put this airplane into a box truck. So I offered to help. And they said they needed some tools and some rope and some equipment. So I came back to my hangar and provisioned up and went back up, and then I met everybody. And they said, oh, we're members of EAA Chapter 309 out of Charlotte. Why don't you come to our meeting? They invited me to come to a meeting, and that's kind of where it all started for me. I learned all the individuals there and some really talented folks in that chapter. Everyone gets along well with everybody, and that's when I decided that it might be time to build a plane. And they had just sold that project, so all the chapter members were looking for another project to get involved with. And back in the late 1970s, I had learned about this ULF-1 microlift sailplane from Germany that had been designed by Dieter Reich back in, I think it first flew in '77. And I'd always put in the back of my head as a former hang glider pilot, because it was designed originally to be a hang glider to beat any other hang gliders of the day back in the late '70s, which it easily did. But it was built as a conventional German wooden sailplane from technologies back in the '30s. Always wanted to build it, always wanted to build a plane out of wood. So I offered this project to the chapter, and the chapter had a board meeting, and they decided that, yeah, we'll stand behind that. So we've been building it now for about 8 years. I think we're our 8th year. It's very tedious, it's a long build, but it's given a lot of people a lot of enjoyment. I think who participated. We probably had 20 different people or more participate in there over the last 8 years. So that's my building experience. We hope to have it finished certainly within the next 2 years.
This is something that you're really passionate about. 8
Yes.
years flight.
Yeah, we hope, and it's going to be electric powered. It's going to be a very unique aircraft. It's going to have 2 5-kilowatt motors in pusher configuration, and we still have a lot of that engineering left to do. But most of the airplane is built, so the airframe is sitting right in the back of the hangar as we speak, and it's pretty much the airframe is finished. We're getting ready. We're putting the controls in it right now as we speak. So
that's great. Yeah, maybe after this interview, you can give us a tour of your
absolutely
hangar and also your building project.
Happy to do that.
How did you find out this airpark?
Well, I'd just say we were residents of Maryland, and my wife's brother and his family live in Wake Forest campus right here in Winston-Salem. And so we thought, it might be kind of nice to relocate near family. So we kind of use this area as Winston-Salem area as kind of our hub of looking at other airparks. And I guess we looked at probably 6 or so other airparks. And then, one we discover another one, and another one would say, oh, we check over this airpark and check at this airpark. So long story short, we narrowed it down to 2 airparks here in the Lake Norman area, Lake Norman Airpark, which is where we are now presently. And we have another airpark 5 miles to the north, which is a Long Island Airpark. So that's a really nice airpark that's right nearby. So we hit it down between the 2. One was a little closer into things. At the time we had a son in 6th grade, and we kind of pulled him out of school and brought him back here. And so we wanted to make sure we had resources nearby. So we chose an airpark a little closer into town, and the Long Island Airpark is a little more rural, a little bit further up to the north. So
yeah, I heard the Long Island Airpark has a grass strip.
Grass strip, yeah, 3,000-foot grass strip. Yeah.
So I think you probably prefer asphalt.
Well, asphalt, they both have their pluses and minuses. For the kind of flying I do, I could do either way. This airplane is actually a European design from Italy. It's a Tecnam P2010. And if you look at the wheel pants and the wheels, it's designed to fly on and off of turf also, because over in Europe there's a lot of turf runways there too. So either way, it's good. It's all good.
For new pilots who want to pursue the dream of living on the airport, any suggestion to them?
Well, there's lots of airparks all throughout the United States. I think probably Florida has the most, in any state, because of the weather and so forth, and it's flat.
Yeah, Spruce Creek is one of the largest.
Oh yeah, there's places. So there's probably hundreds of airparks throughout the country. So wherever you decide to retire to, use that as your base of searching. And I'm sure an individual that's motivated that wants to live on an airpark can find a place that where they'd be happy.
Okay, perfect. So what's the next milestone? So now you're building your airplane. So have you think about after you finish building the airplane? So what's next?
Well, I'm enjoying retirement and enjoying this location. It's possible that we may relocate to another airpark that's a little bit more rural. That might be in our future. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how that goes. We don't know yet. I think it's, in my opinion, it's very much a privilege to be able to live with your airplane, and I'm really very happy to be in a position to be able to do that. And I think if any pilot is considering it, they should pursue it.
After the interview, Holliday gave us a tour of his hangar and his sailplane project.
And probably a good view is right in the back over here. I can lift up the covering, and you can actually see the ribs. This is kind of an interesting view right here. You can look right down, and so both the wings weigh about 24 pounds each. Well, with the wingtips and all, it's going to be close to a 38-foot wingspan.
Yep.
But you can look right down in there and see all the work that was involved with making the ribs and making the wings. So everything's handmade. It's all made from scratch, no kit, and all made out of wood and foam. Up here on the wall is actually what the airplane looks like. But this is the fin and the rudder are up on the back wall there, and the horizontal stab and elevator are up on the wall. So those components are all built. They just have to be installed. And then we're working on the fuselage. I finally can sit in the cockpit with a control stick in my hand now and make swooshing noises. So whenever you get to that point of your build, the control stick kind of fits right in here. It's all been removed right now because we're doing some woodwork, but this is the control stick. And we made a seat out of carbon. And we just got finished making the bow here for the canopy.
Yep.
And these are installations for the controls, and more controls in the back over here on the main bulkhead. And then of course everything is built, by plans. So this is the actual drawing of the whole control system of the airplane right here. So this is what we're installing right now. Mm-hmm. Control stick and the bell cranks and the push rods and things like that all control control the airplane, the ailerons and the elevator and the rudder.
Yep.
So
a lot of details too.
A lot of little small parts that have to be made.
Yep.
There's a lot of fairly complex drawings that have to be interpreted. But again, with the EAA Chapter 309 guys, it's been a pleasure. I never ever would have taken this project on by myself, so I wouldn't have the knowledge and skills to do all these complex construction procedures without the help of.
You're leading the effort, and there's a teamwork.
Yes, it's all team. Yeah. Basically, the agreement was that I would buy everything, provide a space, and then I would end up with it at the end. So that's our plan.
Great.
So hopefully we'll have a flying airplane here in the next year or two.
Okay. Looking forward to the airplane finishing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Come on back and we'll show you the finished product when we get it done.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. You're welcome, Vincent.
Yeah. Thank you for watching. If you like my channel, click the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.